now have full-time associates hired in West Des Moines with us. So,
yay!
That's awesome. They're
I
getting
assume he's with UICCU.
correct. Yeah, at the UI Credit Union in West Des Moines. So, yep. So our team continues to grow, and I know Mike is very excited, as am I, of course. So, Michael Chevin is the gentleman who will be working with me. And then Kyle Olson, if you work with Mike, a lot of you probably have interacted with Kyle already, but he is now Mike's full-time associate, and we have a couple people on our team back at our corporate office and interact more directly with our underwriters. So
that's going to result in better service.
Absolutely. Our goal is, as they get up and trained here, is on a weekly basis on transactions that we're working together with you guys on, you'll start receiving weekly updates from us. Even if nothing is happening, at least whether it's a quick email or a quick phone call from either Michael or Kyle that says, here's what happened over the last week. Prices back, titles back, or nothing's happened, but heads up, this should be back the next week. Or if we need some help obtaining additional documentation from the buyer, here's what we're waiting for. So everybody's in the loop, everybody knows what we're working toward, so that there are no surprises, of course, because that's one of the most stressful things is when surprises come up on the road.
Okay. Any questions for Patrick?
I do. I have somebody that's currently working with Mike with a pre-approval. How long does that typically take?
The pre-approval process, typically, once they apply, we get them to apply online to our website. 48 hours, I would say.
Okay.
Normally. Now, if it's not an easy analysis, it might need to go into underwriting. It could take a little bit longer, but I'll say 75 to 90% of the time we'll know within 48 hours. Yeah, they're good, or no, they're not.
And the weekly updates that you're discussing, is that going to come to us individual agents as we have our clients work with you, or how do you guys do
It will depend how you would like that, because I know many of you work with the transaction coordinator. So if you'd rather that go through the transaction coordinator, then we'll do that, and then you communicate with that person. Or if you prefer they come directly to you, we can tailor that however you would prefer.
Okay.
So rates are crazy low, crazy low. Just quoted out a 30-year fix, 3 1/4, no points. You know, we charge no points, no 1% origination fee. Our total closing costs are right about $1,600. So 3 1/4 and 15 years at 2.5. So they're as low as they've been basically. So,
Yeah.
Is that just purchase or refi too?
Purchase, yeah. Yeah. So, but refi is not much different.
They treat you pretty good on refi. I just did mine.
I'm already at 3 1/4, so.
Yeah. No reason then.
Well, 15 year, you know.
We have 15 year if that's possible. That's always a good way to go.
Yep.
You know,
So.
All right, sir.
Okay, thank you
so much.
Appreciate all the opportunities. Do appreciate it. So, thank you.
Okay,
Thanks, Patrick.
we're up and running. So, for those of you who don't know, I'm Lance Hanson. I'm the broker of the Altoona office. And just let's do this really quickly. Go.
Ben Schneid. Danielle Cypher's team.
Okay.
Angela McKenzie, I'm on Angie Meek's team.
Mike Nicole, West Des Moines.
Jennifer Paulson, West Des Moines.
Lindsay Aaron with Seth Walker.
Teresa was Altoona.
Jason Stuyvesant, right here.
Andrea Olson Taylor, West Des Moines.
Angie Meek, Altoona.
Eric Roeder, Altoona.
Carrie Weber, Urbana.
Brian Reed,
Kevin Clement, Altoona. Kevin Fulford, Altoona.
And
Oh, sorry, Umexe.
all right, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for showing up, even with my name on the header. I appreciate that. And so what we're going to do today, we're talking about a thing called buyer conversion, okay? And here's the overall premise and basic thing that we're going to do. We're going to take a very simple thing, and we're going to make it very complicated, and then we're going to bring it back to simplify it again, okay? So that's the process we're going to go through. And so, you know, just got to kind of stick with me here as we go through this. There's a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of decisions on, you know, what you want to implement and how you want to use it and all those kinds of things. So, Look who's here.
Who's this?
I don't know.
Carmen Santiago?
Yeah, there you go. Everybody has introduced themselves if you'd like to.
I'm Michelle Hanson. I thought his wife. It started at 11:05.
You're the 11:05 class.
Yes, yeah, that's okay. So we're gonna make it simple, complicated, and back to simple again. That's the end goal here. A lot of stuff that goes on in the process, and so this is how we're gonna do it. The idea, if I can switch pages here, the idea is this buyer conversion overview. And is it gonna work? No?
Point it up here.
I pointed up here? Okay.
You just hit the side one.
Oh, side one.
Side one, yeah.
This-
To the right.
This
You got
is
one that
top-
claps?
Nope, nope.
Hey,
to the
right, you
right.
got one that claps?
Yeah.
Get used to that. That one claps off.
Yeah, I don't know.
Smoke signal.
I don't use this stuff. Yeah, exactly. So here's the plan. And this is what happens. We get a buyer. We find them through some form, open house, past client, phone call, sign call, whatever it might be. We get that person, okay? And we take that person, whoever they are, and we turn them into a buyer. We implement them into our system. We get them back to just sold, and hopefully go back in for referral and repeat customers from that. So we start bringing people in out there, or working with people that we already know and work with, and then we do this circle. And this is the circle of life as far as real estate agents are concerned. That's the circle of life, on the buyer side. And of course, then we take those buyers and they buy a house, and then we have them, and then down the road, they want to sell the house and buy another house. And that's our circle of life. That's how it works. So that's the basis of this. That talks a little bit about the 5 stages and what it's all about, and we'll get into all of that. Let's see if it's got it. Yes. This is an idea of what happens with proficiency. Okay? In this chart, you'll see that as you work, when you're consistent in your work, then as you're efficient in your work, and then you go to proficient in your work. And the way I look at this is consistent. That's when you don't know what you don't know, but you're willing to work hard. Okay? And then the next phase is efficient, is that you're like, oh, yeah, I know that. And these are things that I need to do to make it happen. And then the proficient part, that's the phase that we all should be moving towards. And that's when I know that I know, and I know how. That's the process, okay? That's what we should all be shooting for. When you get there, you can see the dramatic change in numbers. Part of it is the number of times you're willing to work. That's your work ethic, okay? Whether you're making a call, 2 calls, 3 calls of setting appointments. And then the sets per year. Then your show-up rate. Now, what is the difference in your show-up rate, your qualifying rate, and your percent to buy rate? Proficiency. That's what it is. It's the first time you talk to these people, you understand what's going on. You ask the right questions. You recognize who they are. And then you're able to determine, is this somebody that I should be working with? And if they're not, next. And we get away from that. I think they can buy. If they just save up $3,000 in the next 2 weeks, they can buy a house from me. And if the financing will work, and if this goes, and if this goes, and if this goes, and we chase that buyer around, and 3 others walk by that are ready to buy. And we're like, I'm busy. I can't deal with those people because I'm busy. So I'm busy doing all of this stuff with somebody who can't, while I let somebody who can walk right past me. And where are they going to walk to? Next agent. That agent is going to be proficient. They're going to recognize, hey, this person can buy. And when you have somebody that is ready, willing, and able to buy, they're called an A client. And they deserve our utmost attention and service. Does that make sense? Yes, no, nobody's talking? Come on.
Yeah.
It's a live class. Okay, so here's what we do. We use in the buy conversion plan, sorry, I forget to hit my little thing. Okay, so we're gonna go right past this, and we're gonna go to core beliefs. Okay, that's cool. And these core beliefs, these are important. I live in a world of abundance. I hear that quite regular in my life because I have a lady that's my partner who believes that dearly. My only limit is time. Now, time is cut up because you have life. You know, some of you have kids, some of you have spouses, and you have hobbies, and you have things you love to do, and you know, most of us want to work in this business to allow us to do those other things. Okay, there's a few that this is it. The business is your life, that whole thing. I'd encourage you to expand your life a little if that's becoming the case. So the only limit is time. Focus is the key to success. And you know, moving from this task to this task to this task, that's important. That requires scheduling, commitment, you know, focus on the things that need to be done. The processes and systems, those are the things that make you successful, that gain the proficiency that we were talking about earlier. And understand, it's unacceptable for your business not to earn money. That's unacceptable. We're not social workers. As much as sometimes we feel like it, you know, like, oh, but they're so nice. That's fine, but we're not social workers. It's a win-win or no deal. This is a thing that's been coming up a lot lately, is that we have agents from other companies, of course, but we have agents, and all they care about is the battle. They want to have a battle. They get ready to write an offer on your listing, and they're like putting on the armor. It's like, we're going to fight. Because they think fighting for their client is the way to do business. And some of them are being trained that way. You have to understand that in this business, we're not in a courtroom battle with two attorneys beating one another up and that kind of stuff. That's not what we're doing. We have a seller who wants to sell a house. We have a buyer who wants to buy a house. And we're facilitators to make that happen to the good of both parties. That's our job. Okay? Now, do we get in negotiating and trying to get a little this and that and make things happen? Absolutely. Do we learn how to negotiate so that we understand our position and our buyer or seller's position and what we can do to make it better for them? Absolutely. We do all of those things. Sometimes we're in the position where we're like, well, I don't know, that's the best we can do. If you want it, fine. If not, fine. You know, we may just put our foot down. We may be on the other end where the buyer's like, oh my God, I just really love that house and I want it so bad I'll do anything. And then all of a sudden the pressure's on you. It's like, oh crap, I got to figure out a way to get this house. And the other person puts their foot down and says, this is what it's going to take. And you may go, okay, that's what it takes. What'd you do? What your buyer wanted. You did what they wanted. They wanted that house. You have to do what you got to do to get it. Okay? So win-win. And I'm sorry to emphasize that so much, but that's so important in your business in the future as you're dealing with other agents and that kind of stuff. When it's all said and done, people will remember how you made them feel. When everything is done, they won't remember if you got them the refrigerator as part of the transaction. Okay? They'll remember how you made them feel. Okay? You won't convert any of the leads that you don't generate. Okay? So you have to do something on the front end to make something happen in the middle. And we're dealing with the middle. If you can logically and tangibly explain something that's going on in the transaction, the people will go, oh, okay. So whether it's financing, whether it's, you know, an objection that's come up inside of the transaction, negotiating like that, if you can do this and how you do business, if you can explain it logically and tangibly, they're going to go, oh, okay, that makes sense. All right? And then unacceptable to leave clients' money on the table. That's part of our job. You know, we want to get the most out of the property that we're selling for them. We want to get the best deal on the property we're buying for them. That's our job. We promise that in our agreement with them. Time reveals all. Yeah, a year down the road, we'll probably go, oh, okay. Motivated, qualified, and loyal people like to buy homes. Absolutely, that's what we're looking for. We need the process because that reduces the risk. And risk is kind of a weird word when you're talking about a client. But we have to do a risk assessment on buyers when we meet them. The same thing with sellers. We have to look and go, okay, what's the likelihood of this coming to fruition? And then we accept the risk of that. And as we gain knowledge, we gain, you know, better understanding. As we gain processes, we don't, you know, things don't fall off the table. Things don't end up on the back burner. Things don't be like, oh my God, I forgot. That happens to me. So this is something, if they won't meet me, they're not a buyer. This ties right into our safety issues and our safety programs, okay? If they won't come in and meet you, they're not a buyer. They're not. This is like, are you going to be loyal to me? Are you going to work with me? Are you going to do that? Then they just have to make a small commitment. If they're not willing to do that at the very beginning, got to question it. A buyers deserve my immediate time and attention. So once they become an A buyer with you, you got to work on it, okay? So in your processes, these are the 7 responsibilities of dealing with buyers, and we're not talking about the lead generation side of it, okay? This is like, I found a buyer, now I go from there. What do I do with this person? This is about the conversion, the administrative preparation, the showing, and the writing and negotiating, okay? That's what we're talking about here, is getting this stuff done. There are 47 vital buyer activities that are in this course, and I've left them there for you so you can see that. But you get your lead generation, what goes on there, that's the first thing. The second thing is the lead conversion, the things that we're talking about today. And this 47 things is to give you an overview. Are you doing all of those things, or do you have a system in place that is taking care of that thing? You know? The meet in the office, the old terminology for that was CETO everybody. CETO is come into the office. That's the idea. If you can get them to come in and meet you in the office so that you can have this buyer interview, your chances of success dramatically rise. Your chances of them being loyal dramatically rise. If you can get this part done, it's huge, okay? It makes you able to service them better because you took the time to sit with them, paper and pencil in hand, and interview them. What is it that they want? What do they qualify? How is their process? What's their time frame? What's their motivations? All of those things are important, okay? So then you get into the administrative prep. Those are things either you do or if you have an assistant, they do. And it talks about after your first meeting and some things that you can send to them and work with them and how you prepare things, and we'll go over some of that. And then the last part here is the closing or the showing, then writing and negotiating, then closing the transaction, and then post-closing activities. And all these things are there, don't need to go over it. They're pretty self-explanatory, but it's good things to think about as you go through the process and you learn what the process is, okay? So when we go to this results by design, we get to this basics. And the mission, the vision, the model is called relationship-based selling. It's where we create a relationship with somebody so that we can work with them now and in the future. That's relationship-based, you know. We're not order takers. You know, we're not the person that, you know, every once in a while we run across somebody that says, hey, I saw this really nice house and I want to write an offer on it. You're like, okay. And you do it and it's like, oh, great. You have no relationship with that person. You haven't set them up. You haven't worked with them. You haven't got to know them. You don't know where they're coming from. And sometimes it works out. It really does. It works out and you sell them a house. And then when it's all done, you're like, okay, now what? I gotta wait for another one of those. Because that person isn't gonna call you back the next time. They're not gonna call you when their kids or their parents or their friends or somebody like that wants to buy a house. They're not calling you. They don't know you. You don't know them. You haven't set up a relationship that would make this thing happen. Okay? So there's an approach to what you're going to do. And the approach is that you're going to, these are in a little bit different order than what I have. The approach is working with a buyer. You're going to have the pre-conversation things. You're going to meet in the office. You're going to go to the conference room before you go to the car. You're going to go sit down with them and you're going to interview them and you're going to find out what's going on. You're going to set the tone by discussing the win-win situation. You're going to interview them that says, what are your wants and needs? How can I service you best? You're going to check their financial ability. This doesn't mean that you're going to sit down and get your calculator out and start going over things, but you're going to ask them some key questions. You know, have you been to talk to a lender? You know, what did that lender have to say? Are you aware of your credit score? Are you the only person that's involved in this, or is there somebody else finding this with you? And it's down payment. My preference is that I say, what have you set aside to invest in this home? It's the same question, it's just a different way of asking it. Everybody has their own comfort level, but that's mine. What have you set aside to invest in your new home? Because people, if you ask them, do you have savings? Yep. Are you wanting to use that to invest? Oh no. You know, it's a different dynamic. All right. So you're going to go over, you're going to cover the mutual expectations. All of this is going to happen in your meeting. So this thing, I keep forgetting to change my field, sorry. Okay, so this Padlonian realtor. That's the person that we want to stay away from. This is the danger one, okay? And it's easy, man, it's so easy. You know, you're hungry, you want to go, and it's like, they call in and they're like, I saw this house, it's really nice, it's just what we're looking for, can we see it? What are you gonna do? It's like, oh my God, man, I need a deal. I gotta sell something, you know? And for those of you who have team members, are you really willing to send your team out to meet that person? Are you? You know, you don't know them. They just called in and said, I love this house. You know, shouldn't we go here and say, the phone rings, I have a potential buyer, and then start the process. Start the process to meet them, see what's going on, ask them for this meeting, you know. Perfect, that's kind of an erroneous word. I don't necessarily agree with their wording about that, about finding your perfect home. There isn't one as far as I'm concerned, except unless U built it. Right? So anyway, but are you ask people, you know, what have you done? Where are you in the process? Who have you talked to? What have you seen? You know, those kinds of things. And you get into this proactive process of getting together, talking to one another, you know, and you start closing for that. CETO, everyone. close for the appointment, close to get them in, close to have them sit down. I literally don't care if it's like, let's meet at the Applebee's or the McDonald's or whatever. If that's what you have to do, fine, but get a meeting with them. The office is best because it shows commitment on their part, but get a meeting with them where you can sit down and go over what's working, how you can help them. And you work that, and you talk with them about what you do and how you do it, and then you close for it, And it's like, this is the close. Does that sound like an approach that will work for you? Does that make sense? It's your words. Your words is what all of this comes down to, your words. How does it make sense? How do you express this kind of a thing? And then if they say yes, then you set the appointment. If they don't, then you've got to dig deeper. You get out your what I call woven questions, which is who, what, why. It's all part of exploring, asking more questions to see what's going on. Okay? So, like we said, time is limited. You only have so much that you can apply to your business and have a life. So you've got to invest in vital activities. If people are not willing, they're high risk. If they're not willing to work with you, meet with you, come in and talk with you, go through the process, they're high risk. Now, I know and I understand that we're in a market of craziness right now. Okay, I know that. It's like, but we got to get out there right away because it's on the market. It's only been on for 2 days. It's had 5 showings, and these people are interested because the listing agent told me that. I understand that, and we certainly have to go. We have to move faster. We have to do things quicker. But the system doesn't have to change to allow for that. Okay, you still have a system that you work within. You still make that system work for you so that you're servicing the people properly. You're maintaining your safety, and you're investing your time wisely into low-risk people that will more than likely buy and move forward. All that makes sense so far? Any questions? If you have a question or a comment, please interrupt. I'm fine with that. Can you just email me the information? Anybody ever heard that before? Can you just send me the information on the property? Sure. My question is, to what benefit is that to the buyer? They can go online and find out virtually any information about a property. What benefit are you to the buyer? If you don't create a benefit to the buyer has no use for you. You are just like everybody else out there who they've picked up the phone, called, they answered, and said, oh yeah, I'll be right out and meet you. You're just like them. If you want a point of difference, it's up to you to make it. Make a point of difference. Make yourself better. Make yourself the professional. Create an image and a way you do business that counts. Have the process in place, ready to go, so that you know where you're going from the very beginning. You know how they like start out with the end in mind? This is the ultimate, start out with the end in mind. You need to create a relationship with these people before they become your client. That's relationship-based selling. That's how your business grows from I'm struggling, I'm trying to get things done, I'm trying to meet people, I'm trying to add to my sphere, all of that. That's how it grows, is becoming relationship-based, and then your business takes a life of its own on. Okay? So don't fall for this. Create an understanding of that's where they're going to go. What are you going to say? So, has anybody got a good answer to that? Can you just email me the information? Anybody got a good comment? Kathy says hell no, and that works for her.
That's a good one.
Yeah. How about if you said something like, you know what, I can send you some information on this property, but what I found out in working in this business for a while is that the best way I can help you is understand what you're looking for. And the best way I can do that is spend a few minutes with you to get to know you so I can help you. Now, if we can get together, I can put you on my exclusive buyers list. Those are people that I call first. The minute that any of my resources make me aware of a listing that's coming on the market, is available off of the market, is out there and ready. If you would come in and visit with me for a few minutes, we can set that up.
What time works for you, Lance? I'm coming in. That was good. Can you say that one more time? Everyone write that down. We've got to report it, but
That's the idea, though. Ways of talking to them. How can you be the professional? How can you be of service to those people? How can you not be the person that just runs out and shows them a house? If you don't do that, you have not made yourself any better than any other bum they pick up the phone and call and they answer, because you know what? I got me a real estate license. I'm one of those realtors.
Well, and you set a precedent that you'll jump when they say jump.
Absolutely.
Even if I'm free this afternoon, I'm not meeting you till tomorrow.
But it's true. You do need, and I totally agree, and I understand with that you need to set the parameters, and you need to be the person that's in control, having them believe that they're always in control. That's called sales. That's sales skills. But they believe they're totally in control of you, and you make sure they do exactly what you need them to do. That's sales. That's how our sales work. We're not like, this is wonderful, you should buy it. That's not sales. That's showing. Nobody wants you to show them something. They want you to service them. They want you to help them. They want you to make their world be better. They want you to create a win-win. So, go to the conference room, make a difference, create a system, and get in for a focus meeting, a meeting that helps them. Now, if you have a receptionist, if this is possible, this is something I used to do that's fun. If you're having a meeting and you give this and say the person at the front desk has their name, because it's always great to be greeted by name. So if you have that resource, if it's available to you, it's nice. It works. Ours is a bell. So if they ring the bell, then you know that they're there. So here's how you get ready.
We could put a sign up there.
Have
a seat in the conference
room. Have a seat in the conference room. I'll be right with you as soon as you ring the bell.
As soon as you ring the bell.
Exactly. So this is you getting ready. When you set somebody in, you take them to the conference room. You're like, hey, can I get you something to drink? Do you want some cold water? Which we have now, right, Angie? Yes, Angie's the resource for that.
To get there, but we got it.
But get them something to drink, whatever, get them in there, get them comfortable, that kind of stuff. And then you're out for a second because you're going to grab your paper, your pen, stuff, whatever you're going to do to meet with them. And then you do this. The last phone call you had that said the property didn't appraise, the last phone call you said that the lender's like, I don't know if this is going to work or not. All of that stuff has to go away. Because now you have this person and they deserve all of your attention. They deserve you at your best, not a distracted you that's thinking about something else or worried about something else. This is what you gotta be, okay? And again, start with the end in mind. Here's some ideas, and this is everybody familiar with Ford? So it's your family, your occupation, recreations, and dreams. That's how you talk to people. Anybody, if you use those 4 things, you will build rapport with them. And you can go anywhere in there, to create the connection, to build rapport, to get them knowing that you care. Okay? This is the one thing that I found out over the years in all the classes that I've been to, is that people don't care what you know until they know that you care. Okay? That's the first thing they have to feel, that you care what's going to happen to them. If they know that, then your knowledge can come pouring out and they're going to love it. but they gotta know that you have put them first. They're the ones you care about. And you do that by getting into these areas and figure out who are they. You know somebody in common, you know, do your kids go to school together? Have you met them in some other type of situation? You know some of their family from someplace? What do they do for a living? All of these things is what gets you in and builds rapport. Rapport, another word for that can be trust. You build trust. If they don't trust you, it ain't happening. Not going to happen for you. You have to let them know that you care, that you're interested in doing something for them positively. It's the idea how you do it. Am I going too fast? Are we okay? I'm not going to dwell on all of this because some of it's pretty self-explanatory. And you know, one of the things with this is there's such thing called role play. For those of you who are newer in the business, role play is invaluable. Invaluable. And I've had people that say, I'm like too embarrassed to role play. And you're like, I would be more embarrassed if I went out on an appointment and screwed up than I screwed up in front of somebody in the office that offered to help me. I would be, and besides I'd be more broke if I did it that way. You're not going to make any money if you practice on clients. Okay? Practice on each other. You're not going to buy a house from one another anyway. What does it matter? And you'll get honest feedback. You'll get critique from the other person. Go, you know what? I liked this part, but when you got into that, I kind of felt this way, or I kind of felt that way, and you stumble over words and you don't know the right thing to say. So what? It's okay. You know, my poor wife, when I started, I was like working with her about showing houses and getting her to come to an appointment and what about this and what about that? She's like, oh my God, stop, please. So, you know, it's important. This is how you do these things. And these are some ideas. You talk about the win-win. This is where we're going. This fits everybody, makes it work better for everybody. You go about their agenda and what you're going to do and how you're going to do that. This part here is kind of about, it's what I call the safe island. Is anybody familiar with safe island? Who's had surgery? Okay. When the doctor came in and met you before the surgery and said, this is what we're going to do, that was a safe island. That's what we do in our business. We're going to give people an overview of what we're going to do because it helps. And if questions come up, great time to handle it. Much better than when you're under sedation and you're having the operation done. That's not a good time. So we take people to a safe island, whether it's a listing appointment, the buyer's appointment, whatever that is. We go to a safe island and we say, here's how the process works. We're going to sit down, we're going to talk, I'm going to ask you some questions, I'm going to allow you to ask me any questions that you have. We're going to go through the process of getting you comfortable with the buying process and me comfortable with your situation. That way we can move forward in a productive manner. We can make something happen for you that you want. That's a safe island. Then you go in the process. Confidentiality. Yes, sir.
I've been using, and it's been working a lot in this, developing that. I always tell people I'm not selling them a house, I'm selling their trust in me to guide them through
Absolutely.
the house they want.
Absolutely.
And just that line, like I've seen people's face be like, oh.
Yeah. If we don't do something like that, we're car salesmen. And they think, seriously, they think we have a set of inventory. It may be just your listing. It may be just your company's listings. It may be just RE/MAX listings. Whatever it is, we're trying to sell them something. That's not what we do. We're trying to help them find what they're looking for and then do the process of having them acquire that. We don't sell houses. That's the last thing we do is sell houses. Now, in new construction, you have a little bit more product-based, but that is information. That isn't sales. You listen to what people have to say, and then you match them. It may be that you match them with a lot that's down the street because you don't have what they're looking for, but you can build it. Okay? So sales. We're in sales, and the only thing we do is we cause people to make decisions to their betterment. That's sales. That's how we sell things. Okay? We don't cause people to make a decision that's not good for them. That's not right. That's somebody that's selling you a refrigerator and they want to get you the highest priced one because they get a bonus. That's sales. That's that kind of sales. We're not in that, okay? Our idea is to make you make a decision one at a time that move you along the path that you've asked for. That's our sales technique. Confidentiality is huge. And the first time you meet with people, buyers or sellers, explain this. Our discussions that we have today will not be revealed to anybody else. Everything we talk about is confidential, no matter what happens from this point. We have a form that actually says that, and we'll bring that form out pretty soon. But I want you to know up front that you can feel comfortable sharing with me any information about you because I'm not telling another soul about it. And I use the example of my wife and me selling the house to somebody that she worked with. She didn't have a clue. Not one. Because it wasn't her business to know that. If the buyer wanted to talk to her about that, that's fine. I don't talk to her. It's not her business. Huh?
You never talk to her?
No, as little as possible. So,
I'm not sure to say that.
yeah, she's gonna, my other wife here is gonna talk to my first wife. So, that's the deal. Here's the uncovering buyers' needs and wants, and you can do this a lot of different ways. And there's things in here that, to give you an idea, this one you asked for the meeting. We've justified, we've moved the conference room, we've built rapport, we've set the tone, and now we're uncovering their needs and wants. What's the difference? Needs and wants.
Oh.
What's the difference?
Needs are the must-haves. Wants they can be more flexible.
All the deal breakers are needs.
Needs, absolutely. Needs is, I've got 3 kids, I have to have 4 bedrooms. I can't buy a 3-bedroom home. Now, here's the question. You might say, okay, the age of your children, would it allow you to have 3 bedrooms on the main but a 4th in the basement? Oh yeah, that worked perfectly. Okay? So you explored a little bit, but it's still a need. Want is it'd be great if the backyard was fenced, because I have a little dog. That's awesome, but what can you do if the backyard isn't fenced?
That's it.
That's it. Okay? So you have to get into that, and in the process of this, sorry, got to get to the next page. In the process of this, you have all of these things, and this is a wide-ranging, you don't have to have all of these things on your list. You may choose some things, you may choose just a series of questions that you're working with, but you create this. I've worked with people in slower times, when you have this opportunity, is the first time that you met with buyer and seller, I sent them home, or I sent them in the conference room, and I said, you, husband, write your list down of what's important to you. You, wife, write your list down of what's important to you, and do not think about the other person and what they care about. Because you know what? People tend to think they know what the other person wants, and they go, well, we've got to have 4 bedrooms. Because they're like, well, she has a hobby. He's like, she has a hobby, we need 4 bedrooms so you can do that. Do you need 4 bedrooms? Or you do need some finish in the basement where she can do her thing. you know? So think about, that's the one time I encourage you, think only about yourself and what's important to you. And you know what you find out? A lot of times you'll find out that they both think something that the other one didn't understand. They didn't know that, you know? So you get to the root of what's really going on, and that's really important. The other thing that's important is that one of these days, Becca, we get a fan in this room because it gets hot and sticky. So here's some things. Here's a couple of notes, though. The whole idea of this process is just to get them to think. You know, I tell them, say, okay, close your eyes and imagine what your house looks like. What do you see? What do you see when you close your eyes and think about your next home? Or if it's your first home, second home, third home, what do you see? Do you see a cute little Cape Cod over in Beaverdale? You know, do you see, I just need a basic 3-bedroom ranch in Sherman Park? You know, do I want something unique and different somewhere? You know, do I see myself in a beautiful 4-bedroom, 2-story, you know, backing to the lake or the golf course or whatever? What do you see? How do you see yourself living in that? Here's something that virtually nobody brings up to people. How do you live outside your home? How do you live outside your home? Do you like coffee on the deck in the mornings? Do you like to go sit out on the deck and barbecue and entertain in the evenings? Because if you know the answer to those questions, you might figure out that, you know what, if they really like to be out, they want to use a deck on the backside and stuff like that, you don't want the back of their house facing the west side. Because none of that is possible. Trust me, I have one that faces the west side. It's horrendous. In the afternoons, especially in the summer, you're not going out. It's 120 degrees on that back deck. It's brutal.
We need to plant a big tree.
Well, we did, and it's not big yet. We're working on that. That's the downfall of new construction, is that the trees aren't big yet. But think about that. And in new construction, you're thinking about where you're going, what house might be, and how the lot might work and stuff like that. You would like to wake up and your master bedroom's on the back of the house and the sun's rising? Is that good? You know, yeah. You know, heck, you might even get up early.
Right.
Whoa.
Not get crazy.
Check it out here. Yeah, but just interview your people, figure out what's going on. These things are important, and they will not have thought of that. They won't have thought of that. And they'll be like, whoa, this person cares. This person's here to make sure I make good decisions. They make sure they want to understand me and get the right house. Because one of the things in here, it says that you get the house you want, and then you end up wanting the house you get. And it's real corny, and it's in here, but it's true. It's corny as hell, but it's true. You know, how many people, they get the house, and it's like, okay, this is great, and they're like, oh God, I wish it, you know, would have been this, or I wish it would have been that. Part of that's your fault, because you didn't interview them right, okay? So that's about lifestyle. And then also, especially if you're working with young people, first-time home buyers, that kind of stuff, they don't know the difference between a split foyer and a split level and a 3-level split and a 4-level split and a front-to-back split and a side-to-side split and an offset split versus a traditional split. They don't know about 1.5 stories and what that means. They don't understand that a 2-story gives you the most square footage for your money. The reason is because it has the same amount of foundation and the same amount of roof, and they slide another level in. You didn't pay for more roof, you didn't pay for more foundation, you just stuck another level in. That's why 2 stories are the least expensive plan. And the straighter the sides on the 2-story, the less expensive it is, because you go straight up the sides and create what we used to call salt boxes. I don't know if they still call it that anymore. It's just straight-sided 2-story home. Cheapest square footage you can get, unless you go over the garage, because it's the same concept. If you build over the top of the garage, you didn't put more roof, you didn't put more foundation, you just put square footage on. Don't you think they ought to know that? When you start talking to them about the different styles, you know what they start doing? Oh, that's Aunt Sue's house. I know what that is. when you talk to them about a split foyer. In split foyers, when you walk in the door, you have a decision to make. The second you walk in the door, am I going down or am I going up? But a split level, you walk in on a level. And that level can be the kitchen family or kitchen living room area, that kind of stuff, or it can be the next level down and you walk in there and then go up to the kitchen. Front to back splits are different than side to side splits. Does everybody know what an offset split level is? You younger ones probably not, because offsets are what's the norm now. When you started originally, split levels were like this. And you couldn't see from the main level into the lower level. There's a stairway there, but you couldn't see in. The reason is because there wasn't enough wall to allow that. So what happened is they raised the top level up like this, and they made what's called an offset split level. So the difference between this level and this level is only a few steps. Because of that, the wall between those two is taller, which allowed them to open it up, which now you see split levels. You walk in, you're in the kitchen, you're like, there's the family room, the fireplace, it's all open and it lives wonderful. That's an offset split. Gain that knowledge and share it. People need to know that kind of information. Okay? Questions about any of that? You prioritize your wants. That's because you need to know when you're out there looking and that kind of stuff, because you can find all the needs and narrow it down to that. But what wants? Because we talk about the perfect home. Yeah, there isn't any such thing. We're looking that if people can get somewhere close to 70% of their wants, they're going to like the house. Okay? But you have to know, is that finished basement the most important want? Or is that even a need? You have to know, does the office in the house, is that important to you? Because it's, I mean, the person has a home-based business. They have to have an office to work out of. You know, they don't want it to be a fourth bedroom in the back. They want an office. When you walk in the front door, there's the double glass doors that open up. There's an office. Okay? So find out, prioritize those, because that'll help you. The other thing is, when you first go out showing, the very first time you go out showing, do two things. One, don't lead. Do not lead anywhere. Have you ever seen or heard this agent? And here's the kitchen. Like you wouldn't know that that's the kitchen. Kidding me? You allow them to go into the kitchen. Now, is there a feature in that home that you really want to make sure they notice? Like there's some beautiful wall thing going on here. Here's what you do. Do you think they'll notice?
A well-placed, huh?
I can totally.
Never hurts.
You're standing there looking at it. They're going to go up and go. And you look at them and they're like, wow, I know. But if you tell them, they didn't find it. I know I'm corny. Guess what? It works. It works. Learning to show a house is vitally important to your business. Vitally important. It has to be a discovery that they're making. Not following you around, having you go, look at this, look at this, look at this. That's not showing. That's tour guide. They don't need a tour guide. Okay? Get them in, allow them to discover and see what's going on, right? So you got to do that. Got to prioritize. Now we get to the buyer motivation part. That's when you really find out, are they serious? What's their motivation to move? Is their rent up in 2 months? You know, or do they have 6? Are they having a kid? They need the space. What's going on in their life that makes it important for them to move in to their own home? Okay? So, go through. This line can be asked a million different ways. Have you already spoken with a lender? And they're like, no. It's like, I'm sorry, are you paying cash? you know? It's the thing at an open house, try this sometime, this is great. You come out, you're like, oh, you live around the area? Yeah, we got a house over here. Congratulations, you must have it sold.
No, we're just here to be nosy.
Yeah, we just wanted to see what color the band is.
Yeah, well, you know what? And you know what that just did? That just showed me their motivation, and I'm fine with that, because I'm like, hey, you know what? Look around, help yourself.
We wanted to see this house, but we didn't really like these people, so.
Yeah.
Came when we knew they were
Yeah,
coming.
right. And it happens. But if you can identify it 10 seconds, 15 seconds into their visit and know that, okay, focus on the next one, see if you've got a client, all right? So work on that. Figure out what's going on in their life, when they're going to be there. If they're just looking, find out what's happening. See their real motivations between what's happening with them, why they're out, you know. There are people that it's a hobby. They jump in the car and go out Sunday afternoons, check out houses. It's okay, they like to do it. It doesn't benefit you in any way. You be cordial and courteous and let them do their thing, you know, that kind of stuff. Do ask about staying in touch with them, because if they like looking at houses now, they may be interested down the road. Can you add them to your sphere of influence? Is it possible to get their information? And so, you know what, I send stuff out every once in a while to people. You know, if you like going to open houses, I wouldn't be opposed to sending you out what's going open. Just give me your email address and your name. Who knows? Could happen. So be aware of what's going on and have words about your commitment to them, and are they willing to give that commitment back to you. Again, the financing, if you haven't dealt with it earlier, or if you passed by it, you know, with a cursory deal, and then you're like that, it's like, are you talking to a lender? Have you been there? What's going on in your life? You know, and one of the things with a lender, just a quick thing, is like, have you spoken with a lender? Well, not yet. We kind of wanted to find a house. Well, let me tell you, explain to them, if you find a house and you're not pre-approved and ready to go, you probably won't get to buy that house, because it's more than likely that the other people that are looking at that house have had good advice, have gotten pre-approved, they are ready to go. Somebody that's like looking at a house and they're like, you see the house, they're like, I don't kind of want to think about it, you know, stuff like that. Give them at least a warning, and I hate this part, but we're in that kind of market where you got to say, you know what, just so you know, there's the possibility that people looked at this house yesterday and wanted to think about it overnight, and now they're ready to go. How much do you like this house? Close for it. See what's going on with them. Right? So this goes in and it talks about what's expected from one another. And I do like this line, conflict arises when expectations differ. That's so true. So true. If they're thinking one thing and you're thinking another, neither one of you are wrong. You just haven't had the discussion. They need to know what you plan on doing and how you're going to do it, what your communication set's going to be, how that's all going to work, so that you set their expectations to the level and you understand their expectations so you can meet them. Okay? Here's my role and your role list. It's in your packet, and it just goes over these. Again, you don't necessarily need to do this, but use these things. You can create your own list. One of the things, when it talks about I treat all parties fairly, I don't ever say fairly. That's a subjective term. I treat everybody in the transaction honestly. Even our national rules were amended to take fair out of it, because you can't live up to fair. It's what everybody thinks. And as I told my kids, now my grandkids, when they say that's not fair, it's like the fair's in August and you should not expect it any other time. That's it. That's the only time. Win-win, respect for time, finances, all that kind of stuff. Be on time for all meetings, communicate, represent your best effort always, complete and work through the negotiation strategy, reach an informed decision based on their needs, showing packages. If you have a serious, ready-to-go buyer, they're looking to buy a home and you're taking them out to see the 6 best homes in the market. There's nothing wrong with each of those having, it could be stapled together copies, but it's the listing, the buyer's listing, not the agent's, please. It's the listing, it's the information, maybe there's covenants that are attached to that, maybe there's a seller's disclosure attached to that, it could be that it's the assessor's page that's there. All of those things get all put together. It can be either be in a showing folder or maybe it's just stapled together in a packet. But you have the information together because what do you want them to do? You've had your interview, you went through the wants and needs, you got their financing together, and you've determined these are the 6 houses that are out there that meet your criteria. It meets your needs, and most of them meet your wants. What do you expect that's going to happen next? They're going to write an offer. You anticipate they're going to write an offer. They're going to need all this information to make good decisions. So put a showing package together for them. All right? So there's all then this is their role. All of these things going through, you'll see that, don't make any large purchases. Don't go out and buy a house full of furniture anticipating that you're going to have one pretty soon and then your financing goes to hell because of it. They got to respond to calls and stuff. But I want to focus on this one, loyalty. The discussion needs to be had when you meet with a buyer. The discussion needs to be had that I am going to commit to you all my time and energy to do anything I can to pursue the home that will fit your needs and meet most of your wants. That's my commitment to you. I'm going to give you that time and energy. You say it in your words, of course. All I ask from you is loyalty. And by that I mean, if there is any house that comes available, any house that you see online, your friend down the neighbor, a sign in the yard, whatever it is, that the very first call you make is to me so that I can help you move through that. Even if it's a for sale by owner, I know the questions to ask that for sale by owner. I know how to find out what's going on in that house. What's it like? Is this finished? Is that done? How big? Blah, 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 blah. So then I can share that with you. Any of those. You just ask for that commitment. Okay? And you can seal the deal. A buyers get all of that. You can seal the deal. Here's the loyalty dialogue. You can make it. This one, I like this. I guarantee you the best service. I guarantee you nobody's going to take better care of you. I guarantee that only your needs and wants are going to be my priority, that kind of stuff. You go through here, again, do you think it's fair? I'm like, how do you feel about that? Does that make sense to you? Whatever words that you like and make sense, that's what you're going to do. And then this. If we get them there, they're going to buy a home. And if we do it right, they're probably going to buy it from you. One of the things is if you spend this time, energy, and process with these people, they're going to assume that's what everybody does. And why would they want to do that again? They've already done it once. How loyal are people when they get a lender and you know for a fact you can beat the crap out of that lender? You know it. And you ask them and they're like, oh no, we've already met with them. It's in their best interest to do something else, but because they've already met with them, because they've provided information, because they've gone through this process, they're like, no, we're good. We're good. Okay? So we're gonna close that first meeting and we're gonna break for a couple of days, and that's about doing the homework. Is this realistic in today's market? Maybe not. It may be that you go from the first meeting right to the car and you go show houses. In the first meeting, you get on the computer and you open up and you see what's out there that fits their criteria. So this isn't written in stone. This is a suggestion, a guideline of how the process works, okay? So you get together, you talk about the lender, get the verification of funds. If it is a cash deal, you want to know you've got money in the bank somewhere, right? And then you get together for your second one. In between, you send them a thank you letter. There's a list in here in the back of the stuff that you can send them. But you create a file, you set up. This is called a system, a process. If you do this every time, you'll be ready. You'll be ready, okay? So you want to look, if it's FSBO inventory, whatever it is, you want to get there. And then you go and you look at all these things that you can do. You look at availability if you're showing homes, you check availability, make sure that's all good. And then you prepare showing packages. Here's the idea of what can be in a showing package. There's certainly other things, but it's an idea. And you try to schedule showings as early in advance as you possibly can. When you get together on the second meeting, you revisit a little bit. Hey, is everything still the same? Do you guys still feel the same about your needs and the wants that we talked about? Or any priorities different, that kind of stuff? You can have your second meeting in the car, okay? That's okay, you know, if they're in the car. So you can have your second meeting there. Make a copy of their driver's license. Put it someplace in the office. Send it to somebody. Make sure it's there so people know, okay? You only show homes to qualified, ready, willing, and able, that kind of stuff, okay? It's best if the client rides with you. If not, you know, some of this, I'm a little bit, when you read through some of this, it's like as you're driving into a neighborhood and you're like, ooh, I don't know about, you know, this kind of thing. You're like, hey, if you don't like the neighborhood, I'll just cancel the showing. You know, you gotta have respect for your fellow agents too, you know. So, you know, if you try to get somebody out of their house and all this kind of stuff, you might show them, you know, if nothing else, it shows them what they don't like. Or if they go in the house and they see things that they do like, you hear that and you know that for the next one they're available. So it's the neighborhood, then it's the curb appeal. So don't play the tour guide. It's important that you don't. For those of you that are newer, if somebody comes in and they're walking through and look at the home and like that, and they're like, ooh, well, I don't know, I mean, that looks like that's broken. What is that? What did they just do?
Found a reason not to buy it. Sure.
That's what we think. That is a buying sign. They have taken the time to notice that something's wrong. That's a buying sign. If they don't like the house, they don't care if that's broken. It doesn't matter. They don't like it.
Not true. We had the one.
Bring it
That's how we work.
Yeah.
Buyers went through and measured every house that they didn't want.
Well, there is that buyer. Don't get me wrong. Yeah.
So, almost always.
That is true. I've had that where, I had one that literally walked in the front door and went, oh my God, this isn't going to work at all. What's that room look like?
Measurements.
I don't like it.
What the hell are we doing? Why are we here for 30 minutes?
I definitely am not going to buy that house, but I want to see it anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Here's the number for our royalty, have fun.
You know, there's nothing wrong.
Next gen's good.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with making people aware that the clock is running. There's nothing wrong with that. You might say, you know what, we've promised to see the next house in 15 minutes, and it's going to take us about 7 or 8 to get there.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that. Keep them on schedule, totally fine. They expect it. Objection handling, this is something that you can work with. You know, you have to look at the objection. Is the objection something that you can do something about, or is it something you can't do something about? Okay, so the house, it's too small. Does it feel too small for you, or is it really too small? You know, is it the feeling you get in the house? Is that a decorating thing? You know, because they got a ton of furniture jammed into that living room. So explore it a little bit. But if they say it's too small, it's probably too small. But if they say, oh man, this carpet sucks, carpet can be changed. So it would be like everything else being the same, if we could have the seller provide you money to pick out new carpet, would this be a house that you'd be interested in writing an offer on? That's closing. And it's called trial closing, and you should be doing those at each house at different times. Do little trial closes. Just a question that evokes an answer. That's a trial close. A question about the house, about the financing, about whatever. Something that evokes them to give you an answer that moves them forward in the process. Remember our goal? Move them step by step to where they want to go. Okay? This is fun, and I've done this. I haven't done it because I don't use showing packages, but I have had, when we get back in the car from the showing, I'm like, what do you think? Is that close at all? And they're like, oh, I don't think so. I'm like, okay, tear it in half or wad it up, throw it on the floor of the car. It doesn't come up again, So, and I appreciate it. We're almost done. One of the things here about houses, and it's a fun game to play, there's two different ways to play it, I'll just give it to you briefly. One is like the eye doctor. You go and have your eyes tested, and you sit there, and the doctor goes, okay, this is 1, and this is 2. Which one do you like best? And you go, 2. They're like, okay. And then it's, okay, 2 or 3. 3. And then they throw 2 away. So each time they make a decision, they like this house better, get rid of the other one. It's out of contention. If you show 6, 8 houses, you better get them down to the 2. And if you wait till the end, they'll be like, that one had the swing set in the back, right? Do it when they're familiar, okay? So closing dialogue, it's ways of doing that. We're going to do 6 homes on the tour. We're going to go on. This is like, one better than the other. If you don't find them liking the homes, you're doing something wrong. If you show them 6, 7, 8 homes, and they're like, yeah, it's not working, you need to have the talk again. What am I missing? I am doing something wrong. It's not got the needs that you are after. Something wasn't, I didn't understand something, or I didn't understand the wants well enough, that I'm taking you to the wrong properties. Okay? Because people like, I want to see everything. That's what the internet's for. I mean, that's why we have that now. You can see everything you want, but we're going to go look at a certain amount. You close to the offer. This is a lot of stuff. This, like, sleep on it, Grant. We talked about that. So I know that you want to think about this. I want to understand. Let's just go through the process. We'll save ourselves a lot of time based on your decision. Let's go through the process. We've made time for tonight. Let's sit down. Let's go through. Let's get our paperwork out. Let's go through all the stuff that we can. If you're uncomfortable, we'll have everything ready in my day. I'd say you can take the offer. There it is. You just take that with you. And if it works, you tell me, sign it, I'll come pick it up. Okay? Nowadays, it's like, here's all the stuff, we kind of feel good about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send all of this to you through .loop. When you feel comfortable, sign it. If you have questions, call me. Okay? Get them to the next spot. Get them further down the road. Right? So, I did like this one. I'll be okay if it sells. That's the thing. If they're okay that it sells, your conversation about that's over. No more pressing. It's done. They're okay. All right? So, complete the contract. That's what I'm talking about. How does that sound? How does that make you feel? Are you comfortable with that? What do you think? Whatever closing question you want to deal with. And this is the lowball offer. I mean, isn't it wonderful in the market that we have today, people are still considering lowball offers. Learn this dialogue. Learn it. Because people be like, so you really are willing to offend the seller? you know? And they like, well, I really don't care about the seller. No, I understand you don't care about their feelings, but you care about how they feel about you. If you tell them that the house, remember we were in it and it just had new carpet and it was painted and fixed and cleaned, I mean, it was, you know, it looked great. If you tell them it's not worth anywhere near what they think it's worth, and you lowball them, how do you think they're going to feel about you? Do you really believe that we're going to get it at the best price if they don't like you? Are you? Are you going to get it at the best price? No. Housing is emotional. Be aware of that. All right? Here's what we mean by offend. Here's all of this stuff. And it's all in your packet. Everything's there, including the ancillary pages at the end of your packet. Is there questions? Did I miss something? Do I need to explain something more? What do you think?
Great job. Good job.
Thank you. Everything good?
Yep.
Thank you so much for spending time today and going through this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Thank you, Lance.